Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Acupuncture is My Life. Now, in this episode, I'm going to continue discussing certain foods that can kill your sex drive, and I'm going to tell you why. I really don't like doing extended series of any one particular subject, but so many of you are inundating the message center on the Acupuncture is My Life app that I'll do one, maybe two more, including this episode, but that'll be it. That will be it. And some of you guys have, ladies and gentlemen, have recommended I discuss certain types of foods, and some of them I will touch on. I have to leave room for you to see an acupuncturist and undergo an Eastern nutrition consultation session for yourself, because it's all about what's best for you. And in life, everything has to do a lot with timing as well. And this is what makes acupuncture so awesome. It really does. This is what makes acupuncture so awesome, because it's never a one size fits all. Some individuals would state, I'd have a beer or two and sex was great. And what happens here is a lot also has to do with your mental and spiritual state preceding or, before your physical state, relative to a balance between yin and yang, and how is chi and blood flowing throughout your body. You can just be in the most jovial of states. You're very relaxed. Chi and blood is flowing so good. And the individual that brought this up, and he's from Greece. He brought this up with the beer. And come to find out, like, the fourth message going back and forth, he was already seeing an acupuncturist on a weekly basis, and he doesn't drink beer often. He happened to attend a get together, and it was an old crush of his, and he wanted me to bring it up, but I'm not going to go too deep into detail about it. But he had 2 beers and the night was wonderful. Okay, that is great, but the catch here is you're already seeing an acupuncturist, number one. So your body is in somewhat of a state of balance where something external would have a lot of trouble. It'll be difficult for something external in which you've ingested. And I'm not speaking in absolute terms for everything, but let's take, for instance, beer, to really disrupt your chi and affect and kill your libido. Now, when I do podcasts such as this series regarding libido, I'm talking about your more common person who thinks their diet is great, but it's not. They don't exercise, they don't see an acupuncturist, and so forth and so on. That's more so, which is the vast majority. I mean, you're talking better than 80% of global society, which is a huge number. That's who I'm referencing. That's who I'm speaking to for the most part. And I know many of you guys, of the 40 some odd thousand of you individuals who listen to Acupuncture's My Life podcast, the vast majority of you are already seeing acupuncturists. And you're learning more and more and more about acupuncture, which is great. Keep listening. I'm glad I can help you guys as well. And I've referred many of you, a few thousand, to some of my global colleagues on 5 different continents. And I get feedback. They love certain topics you speak of, and they come in and they inquire about it, which is great. That is what I want you to do. I don't want you to just walk into an acupuncturist office and leave it totally up to her or him to figure things out, which they would, and they'll question you. But speak to them as to what's going on with you and what's on your mind from a health perspective. You'll gain so much knowledge, just about your own unique entity in and of itself, and how much it's different from so many other people. So to take the position of one size fits all, okay, this is wrong, take this. That's wrong, take this. Acupuncturists do not deal with you in such a manner. You are different, and you're treated as such. This is why even when I do Eastern nutrition discussions, it's just real basic, general, and how it can affect you. That's where I'm coming from. But to continue, as many of you request, and have requested me get into certain foods that you had questions about, I shall. But next on my list of many, many, many is bottled water. And I know some of you are going to complain and ask, well, how do you carry your water around? You advocate drinking water so much. Yes, I do. I most definitely do. But where are you getting your water from? What are you containing it in? Is super important. Because now you're not only drinking water, you're drinking the chemicals from that container as well. And I'm more so referencing, not totally, but more so referencing water in plastic bottles. Plastic bottles tend to contain bisphenol A, which is usually referred to as BPA. And some of you guys may have heard this before. I mean, it's basically a chemical component that you can find in most plastic food containers and cans. That's why I said I'm not leaving it just to bottled plastic bottles, cans as well. And this can negatively impact fertility in both men as well as women. And there are many individuals who are shocked when I conduct sessions, Eastern nutrition sessions, and realize it may have a lot to do with the containers in which they're drinking their drinks from, and in most cases water, because I'll get individuals that are just avid swimmers, joggers, they compete a lot and so forth, and sometimes that can affect fertility as well, especially if you overtrain. But there are those cases where they're rehydrating from plastic bottles. So they're drinking their water from. And I walked them through it. Not going to go into detail, but things begin to head in the right direction when they're put on proper containers. Okay? But when it comes to BPA, there is, and studies have even support this, large significant association between urinary BPA concentration in men and lower sperm count, concentration, and vitality. And women with the highest levels of BPA in their body saw a reduction in the number of eggs that tend to mature or mature. That's something to think about. And it's something to take serious, especially if you're looking to start a family someday. You're having fertility issues, see an acupuncturist. Yeah, no, don't stop seeing your gynecologist, but see an acupuncturist as well. It's important. And I say this a lot, see a physician on an annual basis. Regular blood work, urinalysis, stool samples possibly. They may even refer you to another physician, gynecologist, so forth and so on. But definitely make regular visits throughout the year with an acupuncturist. And if you're a young lady, every 6 months or so often, how many times recommended by your gynecologist, you should see him or her. But if you're experiencing fertility issues, I strongly recommend you see an acupuncturist as well. But I would say another type of food source is meat that's poor in quality. Now, you have to be careful because I notice I've had friends, right? And associates who would go to different fast food restaurants. And I don't want to sound bad in saying this, but we talk, they would offer, and I would say no, and they'd say, well, you have to be hungry. We were, hanging out for a few hours, and, to me, a glass of water served me fine and an apple as well. But then I would point to their meat, the quality of it. I'd say, take a second. I know you're hungry. Just want to give me a minute. I'm not going to do this unless you grant me permission, and they generally would. I says, peel back that chicken and let's get toward the bone. What color is that? Gray. It's gray. Or cut into the middle of that steak. Wipe the gravy or steak sauce away. What color is that? And I can continue on, even to sandwich meat. All of a sudden, their appetite is lost. Why am I saying this? Not just because of the fact that poor quality meat can kill your sex drive, but poor quality meat can lead to cancer and so many other things. I've even, at a baseball, my favorite baseball team is the New York Yankees. Go to tons of games. And there's some of you that listen to the podcast and see me on the Jumbotron a lot. That's me. Yep. Woohoo. Never see me with a hot dog in my hand. Or a burger. But I've sat next to people and they be biting away at a hot dog. And one time, I think the gentleman got upset because he said I effed up his appetite. But he took a bite out of the hot dog and says, excuse me, take a look at that hot dog where you just bit from. And he's like, yeah. What about it? What color is the middle of that? He looked. Then he looked hard and he says, wow, that's gray. He says, do you think you should be eating a gray hot dog? He threw it on the floor under his seat, used the F word, jumped up, sort of yelled at me like, yo, thanks. Thank you. And his wife says, well, where are you going? He says, this guy just effed up my appetite. I'm going to get something else to eat. Dude, the thank you would have sufficed. I mean, like, you know, hopefully I planted a seed that he can just pay attention to what he's eating. It's amazing sometimes how people can get upset with you when you're recommending something good for them. And, you know, it's kind of tough being a doctor of acupuncture and well-versed in Eastern nutrition to literally sit next to someone and watch them poison themselves and not at least want to say something in hopes of helping them. That's all. But poor quality meat, especially meats that contain added hormones, preservatives, what else? Antibiotics, can create an imbalance, a hormonal imbalance. And here we go. It's back to yin and yang. When yin and yang are out of balance, there's problems. I say this over and over. Okay. Choose the meat that you eat wisely. Choose the meat that you're putting in your mouth wisely. Okay? Another is, you know, I want to jump back to soy for a second because a lot of individuals came down on me. They drink soy milk. They don't want to stop. And that's both female and male. I just want you to understand something. Soy is a plant that contains phytoestrogens. I'm not making this up. Do your research. So phytoestrogens tend to mimic the same female hormone that's produced by women. And it tends to cause development of what would be considered secondary sex characteristics. So eating too much in the way of phytoestrogens can disrupt hormone balance in both men and women. There's that imbalance of yin and yang again. Yin and yang is within everything. And that, I want you to ponder that for a good 2 hours. Because good life, healthy, enjoyable life is about balance. All good and no bad creates an imbalance. And the same vice versa. But understand something. You see, too much in the way of these phytoestrogens being ingested can depress a person's libido. And you're going to find high levels of soy in soy milk, edamame, tofu, and many or various types of vegetarian meat alternatives. So please be careful. I'm not anti-vegan. Don't interpret what I'm saying that way. I'm just saying be careful. Another that's going to shock many of you are spiced foods. Okay? Now, spiced foods, I really want to recommend, because this goes deep from a vaginal perspective, and I'm not going to go that deep on this podcast. Sit with an acupuncturist. They will. Okay? They will. Just my recommendation is back off the spice foods a little bit, especially women. Ramp up your whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and go from there. But, I want to do another food that really, really, I may have stated this in the past, it really shocked me, and that was beets when it comes to sex drive, because it's a root vegetable. And it contains compounds that tend to support healthy estrogen levels in the body. But that's only good when your testosterone levels are healthy as well. And most individuals, especially in Western society, their testosterone levels aren't healthy. So if you have an existing hormonal imbalance, eating beets can exacerbate things. So you really want to be careful in that sense. You really do. My strongest recommendation to you is simply make acupuncture part of your life, okay? Because acupuncture is my life. What's yours?